Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna 122 HD60 hedge trimmer. Customer complaint is that it has no power. I'd say it has no power. It just bogs. So this is most likely a fuel related issue, and I'm going to show you in this video one way to help identify what that issue might be. The air filter on this looks okay. Oh yeah, cap is tight. What about the fuel in here? What does that look like? You know, if you got old fuel, it might not run the best. You know, identifying it by color and smell are about really all we have. There's no water in it. It didn't smell good. So he's got old fuel in here. Let's see what that fuel filter looks like. Fuel line feels pretty good. I mean, the filter's not terrible, but it's due to be replaced. I want to pressure test this fuel line and make sure there's no holes in it. It also tells me if the carburetor's got any leaks. So we put 10 pounds of pressure on this line and it's holding. So that's good news. So do you think our bog problem could just be old fuel? I didn't like the way the filter felt on the end of that line, so I just trimmed it back a little bit. Now the filter will stay on there nice and tight. We're going to put some fresh gas in here and fire it back up, see what it sounds like. Alright, what did we figure out? You saw that I was able to adjust the carburetor and it responded to those adjustments. That tells me that, you know, the high-speed jet and passages and the low speed, they're not plugged up. They work, they're just not getting enough fuel because it was still starving and it was bogging. So there's a couple reasons why it might not get enough fuel. The fuel filter is one of them, and we addressed that already. The micro screen in the carburetor, which lets the fuel in, that could be plugged up. Or the metering diaphragm could be stiff. So we'll investigate that. You notice that when I pulled the top cover off, I started digging around, pulling leaves out of the bottom. And these things suck up leaves really bad and debris. I mean, the intake cooling air comes from the bottom, and you usually have the hedge trimmer on top of a bush or something like that, so they suck leaves up all the time. Some people use these things to flush cut or cut back flowers in the fall, so they got the power head right on the ground sucking up debris. So anytime one comes into the shop, I would encourage you to pull that top cover, take a look at what's going on around the flywheel and the intake fins there, and clean it up. So we got our carburetor off. You got 2 fuel lines and a throttle cable. Let's open this thing up and see what we got going on inside. First we'll get the schmutz off of here. And then we'll take the pump plate off the bottom. There's your micro screen. In this case it looks good. So we've checked the fuel filter and the micro screen off the list. Let's take a look at that metering diaphragm. It's really stuck on there. We're going to peel it off with a razor blade. And yeah, it's pretty stiff. That would definitely explain our problem. Now I know some people will tell you that, you can soak these things or just try and keep running the equipment. That's really not the answer. You need to replace the diaphragm when it's stiff. So we're gonna get a kit here, and actually, this is where you got to make a decision even before you open up the carb. This is like a $25 carburetor. If I would have had another carburetor in stock, I would have just bolted it on here. Because when you add up the price of the kit plus the time it takes to open it up and put the kit in, sometimes you're better off just bolting a carb on. And usually that $25 figure is about where I would draw the line. Plus the fact that this, I don't know if it's pronounced Ruxing or however you pronounce it. I don't really stock kits for them. You just got to find the matching Walbro Ozama kit. So that takes a little bit of time as well. So we got our carb, we're going back on. We got the fuel lines and the throttle cable back on there. Now we're putting the air box on. And at the end of the video here, we're just going to be running this thing and adjusting the carb. I'll put up some clues as to which jet that I'm working on. But you'll see that the machine responds pretty well to adjustments. So that's all I'm going to have for you on the Husqvarna 122 HD60 hedge trimmer that needed a metering diaphragm. Thanks for watching. Later.